Shalom, brothers and sisters. This is Brother Yaiqua from One Nation, One Power. I'm here with my brother Quadash. We're going to bring out some information based upon the comments we've been getting on our comment board about Native Americans who own slaves, and also some Native Americans that, captured runaway slaves. There's some Israelites out there that are bringing forth this information, but they're not bringing every detail about this information. So me and my brother here, we're gonna bring out the information from the Bible and from another source, to prove our point. Because we don't want this to be a stumbling block for our brothers and sisters out there that are coming into this truth, because these other Israelites are being wicked by bringing forth this information and not bringing, the entire information or these small details. Got something to say, brother?
Nah, we're just, we want to bring out this information for our brothers out there from the Northern Kingdom, to give you more inspiration out there, to not let this stumbling block, break down your walk with the Most High. We're going to bring out facts, and we're going to bring out some books that a lot of Hebrew Israelites do have, and we're going to bring forth the information. And we're going to go into the Bible, the most important thing, going into the Bible, and point out a few things. So we're gonna cut the head off the snake today.
That's
and,
right.
For those of you that may not like us, coming out with this information, oh wow, we're gonna pull it out anyway.
That's right, man. And I'll tell you what, one thing too, I kind of laughed at this comment, because they believe that we're running from this information or running from this fact, but we're not, And also, I like to talk with my hands, so I'm not throwing Illuminati signs or anything like that. And look, I got a plain striped shirt right now, man. So you don't have to say, oh, he's wearing what was that? Some kind of shirt that represents Illuminati or anything like that. That's just stupid and foolish, man. We're just regular people, man. I bought this off a clearance rack, just because I don't got $50 to spend on a shirt.
Mm-hmm.
So I go and buy a shirt for $5 on the clearance rack, So I mean, I don't care,
I want to say something real quick, and another thing is too, we're not running from this information. One thing that we have learned by being in this walk is patience.
That's right.
And our outer has taught us, with patience comes the Holy Spirit.
That's right.
And I hope this information comes out clearly and understandable, and it clarifies a lot of stuff
That's
out
right.
there. So wanted to say that.
All right, man. Let's go ahead and get into it, man. We're gonna go ahead and start off in the scriptures in 2 Chronicles chapter 28.
I'll get it, bro.
It's gonna be 28 from verse 8. And see, this is the thing, man. There's nothing new underneath the sun. You wanna go ahead and grab that real quick?
Yeah, I'll get that.
Because you got these Israelites bringing forth this information, and they think this is something new that had never been, that it never happened among the children of Israel when they were in their own land. But see, we're going to bring out this information and show you that this actually did happen amongst the children of Israel when they were living among their own people. So we're going to go ahead and bring out the scriptures about in Ecclesiastes. Go ahead, man.
All right, this is Ecclesiastes chapter 1 and verse 9.
That's right.
The thing that has been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done. And there is no new thing under the sun.
That's right. There's no new thing underneath the sun. So what happened? What happened with the slavery with the Native Americans and the so-called blacks? There was nothing new. There was nothing new between the Northern Kingdom and the Southern Kingdom. That same incident has happened before amongst the children of Israel, even in their own land. All right. So we're gonna bring out that information, like we're saying, and we can go to Chronicles chapter 2 and verse. Chronicles, 2 Chronicles chapter 28 and verse 8.
Read it?
Yeah, go for it, bro.
2 Chronicles chapter 28 and verse 8.
That's right.
And the children of Israel carried away captive of their brethren 200,000 women, sons, and daughters, and took also away much spoil from them, and brought the spoil to Samaria.
That's right.
Keep reading.
Yeah, keep reading, man.
But a prophet of the Most High was there, whose name was Oddi, and he went out before the host that came to Samaria, and said unto them, Behold, because the Most High of your fathers was wroth with Judah.
Read that part again. Because what?
Because the Most High of your fathers was wroth with Judah.
So the Most High was angry at Judah, right? So when you read at verse 8, it talks about the children of Israel carrying away captives of their brethren, 200,000, right? Women and children. Now go ahead. Keep reading.
He had delivered them unto your hand.
He has what?
Delivered them unto your hand.
So the Most High has delivered Judah into the hands of the northern kingdom, the children of Israel. Go ahead, keep reading.
And ye have slayed them in rage that reacheth up unto heaven.
So there you go. Now the Most High delivered the children of Judah into the hands of the Israelites, the northern kingdom. But the thing is that the children of Israel were not supposed to, slay them in this kind of manner to where it angered the Most High. Now we're going to get to that. We can go to verse 10. Check this out.
And now ye propose to keep under the children of Judah and Jerusalem for bondage, bondmen and bondwomen unto you.
So there you go. See, the children of Israel were thinking in their mind that they're going to keep the children of Judah and the children of Jerusalem as bondmen and bondwomen. But check out what happens.
But are there not with you, even with you, sins against the Most High your God?
So there you go. The prophet is saying, is it not even with you that you have sin on yourself also? That you want to commit this sin against your own brethren, the children of Judah? Mm-hmm. Says, don't you know that you have sin also on you? Now go ahead.
Keep reading.
Yeah.
Now hear me, therefore, and deliver the captives again, which ye have taken captive of your brethren. For the fierce wrath
of what?
Of the Most High is upon you.
So there you go. Now this is the Most High's prophet telling the children of Israel, don't have this wicked thought in your mind that you're going to take the children of Judah and bring them into your own land, and because you also have spoiled them, and that because the way you slaughtered them, the cry reached up to the Most High, and he was angry with the children of Israel and with the children of Judah. But he said that is there not even sin among you people also? See, this is the Most High dealing with the children of Israel, and this is was the thought that was inside the children of Israel to keep Judah as bondmen and bondwomen.
And another thing too is that when we read these scriptures, you got to think spiritual. The Most High's hand was on this. This wasn't us going into our own flesh, our own mind, our own heart, our own understanding. No, the Most High was in this. He was shaking hands with the children of Israel, the 10 tribes, to do this. So when you think spiritual, you'll understand it a little better. Go ahead, bud.
That's right. And I'm gonna get one scripture right here in verse 13. It says this, and say unto them, ye shall not bring in the captives hither, for whereas we have offended against the Lord already, ye intend to add more to our sin and to our trespass. For our trespass is great, and there is fierce wrath against Israel. So there you go. To do this thing was a sin, yes, but the Most High's hand was upon the children of Judah, and for Israel to go ahead and to slay the children of Judah, because he said that the Most High has delivered the children of Judah unto the children of Israel. You go grab something else.
Yeah, and let's go to. There's nothing new underneath the sun. We just pointed that out. Okay, so yes, there was history that the Native Americans did enslave blacks. Okay, but we're gonna pull out some more facts about that. But now we're gonna go into the time of the Southern Kingdom during the time of Nehemiah. Okay, when they were in captivity, and how the Southern Kingdom was actually treating their own people in captivity. Okay, and we're going to go to Nehemiah chapter 5. So we got to think about that as far as how when we were in captivity, why the Native Americans did what they did. Okay, but we're going to pull out some facts that it wasn't like how people think how the white man did us. Okay,
That's right.
so now we're going to go to Nehemiah chapter 5.
That's right. So think about this. At this time, the whole children of Israel, all 12 tribes, were in captivity. Okay, because you had the Persian, you had the Babylonian captivity, you had the Persian and Mede captivity, and this is where this is taking place. This is same as you see today. Okay, you have the captivity between the Native Americans and also the blacks. Okay, so this is the same. What you can say, this is relevant to what we're talking about right now, because the black people were in captivity in America, and also the Native Americans were held in captivity also in America. So this is a slavery within inside of slavery. So when you read the book of Nehemiah over here in chapter 5, and we'll see that it is evident, that this is evident. All right, I'm going to go ahead and read this, man. Okay, we're starting at Nehemiah chapter 5 and verse 1. And there was a great cry of the people and of their wives against their brethren, the Jews.
Okay, so this was brother against brother, right? Go ahead.
Verse 2. For they were that said, we, our son, and our daughters are many. Therefore we take up corn of them, that we may eat and live. Verse 3. Some also there were that said, we have mortgaged our land, vineyard, and houses, that we may buy corn because of the dearth.
So right there, that shows you that they were in captivity, because they had to mortgage their own houses and all that. Okay, they were in an economy underneath the heathen. All right, keep going.
Verse 4. And there all and where also that said, we have borrowed money from the king's tribute, and that
they were getting loans, right?
and that upon our land and our vineyard.
Keep going.
Verse 5. Yet now our flesh is as the flesh of our brethren, our children as their children. And lo, we brought into bondage our sons and our daughters to be servants. And some of our daughters were brought into bondage already. Neither is it in our power to redeem them, for other men have our land and mortgage.
Okay, so they were enslaving their own people.
That's right.
Okay, and I want to bring out this book right here, because the Cambridge Annotated Apocrypha. Okay, or not the this is the Bible. Okay, and we're gonna read verse 5 again, but we're gonna read it in here. Okay, I just want to point something out, because it doesn't show the proper words as in here. All right, let me just get it real quick.
Okay. Now, what I have just read is saying that they have borrowed money from the king's tribute, right? So this is the children of Israel, putting up their land as mortgage so that they can feed their family, all right? But who was the people that were in charge of the tributes? Okay, Nehemiah was one of them. But also, there were certain kings, captains that were above, okay, that were in leadership roles over the children of Israel, and they were Israelites. All right.
Let me just read verse 5 in the annotated Bible, Cambridge Bible. It says, "Now our flesh." This is verse 5. Okay, it's gonna read a little different, but I'm gonna read it in here. "Now our flesh is the same as that of our kindred. Our children are the same as their children, and yet we are forcing our sons and daughters to be slaves, and some of our daughters have been ravished. We are powerless, and our fields and our vineyards now belongeth to others."
There you go. The children of Israel were giving up their sons and their daughters to be servants or slaves. Okay, and who were they slaves to? They were enslaved to the people that were in charge at this time, which are their own brethren. Because when you read verse 1, it says that there was a great cry of the people and of their wives against their brethren, the Jews. So this was Israelite against Israelite, Jews against Jews, and they were in the city of Jerusalem. So who had that law of owning Jerusalem? Was the children of Judah. Okay, so when we read further on, and like in verse 6, it says this, and this is Nehemiah speaking. It says this, and I was very angry when I heard their cries and these words, and I consulted with myself and rebuked the nobles and the rulers, and said unto them, Ye exact usury, every one of his brethren. So this is Nehemiah talking to the children of Judah, the nobles, the rulers, and he told them, ye want to take usuries of your own brothers? Okay, now where am I at? Okay,
verse 7.
Verse 7, and said unto them, ye exact usury, every one of his own, and every one of his brother, and I set a great assembly against them, and I say unto them, we after our ability have to redeem our brethren the Jews, all right, which ye have sold unto the heathens. So who sold their brothers unto the heathens, huh? Who was the rulers? Who was the people that were in charge? Who were the nobles that sold their brothers unto the heathen, that had the charge, okay, of the king's treasury or the king's tribute? All right, these were Israelites that were crying against their own brethren because of this treatment, because they mortgaged off their own land, their vineyards, and also brought in their own daughters as slaves. And even their own daughters were being ravaged among their own brethren. So we want to compare that slavery to the slavery that happened here in America with the Native Americans.
And this is biblical. This is coming straight out of the scriptures. You know this is true. All right.
Okay, let me read verse 10. Okay, it says this. I likewise and my brethren and my servants might exact of them money and corn. I pray you, let us leave off this usury. Okay, this is Nehemiah talking to the nobles, to his own brothers. Let's take off usury, All right, let's if you further read this chapter, it'll specify what actually all happened. But we're gonna go ahead and compare what happened right here and also in First Chronicles to what happened in this book right here. Okay, the Black Indian, a hidden heritage. Now, a lot of people, they do have this book. Okay, a lot of Israelites, they do have this book because they wanna say, yeah, the original Native Americans were black people or dark people. All right. So and also for us Native Americans, you indigenous people, don't get confounded by that word being black people. Okay, that's just a word that's being tossed out there. What they're really saying is that we're dark people, different shades of brown. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're not talking about being black like a Hamite or like an African. He's talking about having different shades of brown. Like me and my brother right here, I'm darker than my brother. Mm-hmm. All right, we're just different shades of brown. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into this information. Like I said, I'm coming out of this book, The Black Indians. All right, and I want you to get a glimpse of this right here. Okay, it says slavery in the 5 civilized nations. Right, this is page 135. Now check this out. The Choctaw, Cherokee, Creek, and Seminole Indians were early penetrated by the European merchants, missionaries, and government officials because they already accepted Christianity and European style in houses and dress. White people, began to call them the 5 civilized tribes. With the notable exception of the Seminoles, some members also became slave owners. So there you go. Out of the 5 civilized tribes, some of them became slave owners. All right. Now I'm going to skip over here to the third. Let me see. To the third paragraph. In 1860, slavery had become a major part of life for the 4 civilized nations. Now, at first it said 5, but now they're only saying 4. With the exception of the Seminoles, and we're going to get into that information. Okay, only the Seminoles, as we have seen already, firmly rejected bondage in favor of the system of friendship and an alliance with their black members. So there you go. That's why when it went from 5 to 4, because the Seminoles rejected the idea of bondage. They rather have the system of friendship and alliance with their black members.
That's right.
But among the other 4, black slavery began to shape and develop their village lives. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and skip again to the 4th paragraph. It says this: slavery pushed Native Americans into some critical economic and cultural changes. Before skill and character had counted, but now race became important in judging people. The Cherokees and other adopted slave codes. Now, talking about the four tribes. The Cherokees, the Choctaw, the Chickasaw, and the Creek. Okay, so they say it says that they adopted slave codes, right? Now check this out. The Cherokees and other adopted slave codes to control their black men and women, prevent their escape, and even their learning to read and write. If a slave ran off or rebelled, Indian slave code required other members of the nation to help capture him or her. So there you go. The information about Native Americans owning slaves, yes, it did happen. Okay, and also the information about Native Americans capturing runaway slaves, yes, it did happen. But for what? And for who? Only for the 4 civilized nations, or the 4 tribes. Okay? If the slave ran off, it was up to these other nations to help the other nation capture that runaway slaves. Not for the white man. They didn't capture slaves for the white man. They captured slaves for their own nations.
And and then we went into the Bible earlier, and Judah was selling their people to the other nations.
And also, that's a good point. And not only that, but you also had Judah, okay, the black slave helping the white slave master capture runaway slaves and bringing them back to the plantation, to that slavery. Okay, now where do you get the idea that the Native Americans were helping hand in hand with the white man to capture runaway slaves and bring them back to the white man's plantation? You don't hear of that. But see this information that these other Israelites are bringing out, they don't tell you that. They don't bring you the full details. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and keep on reading. All right, now I'm going to go over here to page 136. Okay, it's talking about bondage. It says bondage is always a violation of the human spirit and the will to be free. But most observers, now check it out, most observers found that the chains of slavery were fit rather loosely on black people owned by Indians. Now I want to read that again. But most observers found that the chains of slavery were fit rather loosely on black people owned by Indian. Only the Chickasaw had a reputation of treating their black slaves as badly as did the white slave masters. The other nation practiced such a mild form of bondage that it upset the slave owners. Okay? And the Seminoles, of course, infuriated white and natives and Indian masters with their generosity, fairness, and a level of equality towards their slaves. Now check that out. It said it upset the U.S. slave owners, right? Now we're going to go ahead and read further. Check this out. I'm skip down to this paragraph right here and check it out. It says, whites who visited slave-holding Indians, okay? These are white people coming onto the reservation and observing the Native Americans that owned slaves. Check out what they had to say. Okay, whites who visited slave-holding Indians described slave men and women who were well treated. All right, who were adequately fed. Who were adequately fed.
What?
and care for.
What?
And care for.
Wow.
So compare that slavery to the white man's slavery. Will you say that's slavery? To be well treated, to be adequately fed, to be cared for. Okay? And then I'm going to read further. It says this. The U.S. slaveholders viewed this leniency as a sign. Native Americans did not understand bondage. They also thought it posed a danger to their own ability to control their black laborers. If Native Americans did not know how to treat slaves, then something would have to be done about the Native Americans. Now, we can get some scriptures right here. Want to go to Leviticus 25?
Let me read this real quick. This
All
is
right.
this is in your Apocrypha, okay? And this is Ecclesiasticus or Sirach, and this is some laws according to how you treat slaves. Okay, and this is I'm gonna read chapter 33 and verse 29. It says, "But be not excessive towards any."
Do not be what?
Excessive towards any,
Okay.
and without discretion do nothing.
Okay.
If thou have a servant,
If you have a slave,
let him be unto thee as thyself.
let him be as to thee as thy what?
Thyself.
So let him be just like how you are. Go ahead.
Because thou hast bought him with a price.
That's right.
If thou have a servant, entreat him as a brother.
And treat him as a what?
A brother.
So don't beat him, right?
Yep, this is how we read, right?
So, treat him like a brother, like you will feed him, right? You will care for him, right? There will be, what else does it say? They were well cared for, right?
For thou hast need of him as of thy own soul.
That's right.
If thou entreat him evil, so if you do it like the white man taught everybody, right? And he run from thee, which way will thou go to seek him?
So there you go. So I guess you could call Native American slavery, slavery, because you were well treated, you were adequately fed, and you were cared for. So you can call that slavery if you want to be well treated, okay? But check this out. And the reason why we're bringing that information out, I got Leviticus right here.
Okay.
Leviticus 25 and 43. And what we just now read, it says that the U.S. slaveholders, okay, they thought, okay, let me read that again.
25 and what? 23?
43.
Okay, I got it.
Okay, right here. It says the U.S. slaveholders viewed this leniency as a sign Native Americans didn't understand bondage. Okay, now I'm going to go back up here. It says that the other nation practiced such a mild form of bondage that it upset U.S. slave owners. Okay, the way the Native Americans were keeping slaves, it made the white man mad. Okay, it made them mad because why? Because they had a leniency towards their slaves, and we just read in the scripture, it says treat them as a what? As a brother, right? You got to care for your brother, right? Now let's check this out. Got that Leviticus?
Yeah.
Now check this out. What does the Levitical law say about being having a slave? Check it out.
It says this is Leviticus 25 and 43.
Or actually, you know what? Let's read 49, then go to 43. 39, then 43.
Okay. 39. And if thy brother that dwelleth by thee,
Just like it says in the Ecclesiasticus, treat that slave as a brother, right? So it's talking about a brother, a Hebrew brother, an Israelite brother that becomes what?
be waxed poor,
That becomes poor
and be sold unto thee,
and be sold unto thee.
thou shalt not compel him to serve as a bond slave or bond servant.
So there you go. If your brother becomes poor and he is sold unto you, don't treat him as a slave like how the white man classifies slavery. Okay, now read on verse 43 and see whether or not the Native Americans were following this law right here. Even though they fell away from the law. Okay, they were kicked out of Jerusalem and came into this land because this was the land that was promised unto them. Let's see what it says.
It says, "Thou shalt not rule over him with rigour, but shall fear thy God."
So there you go. This was still applied in our spirit. We applied this law in our spirit that we should not treat our brothers, okay, or treat the black man as harshly as the other nation, as the white man, when in their form of slavery. Because when you read from 39, it talks about your brother, okay, and how he'll be sold unto thee, because he has fallen into when he says he'd be waxed poor, right? Now let's go get some more information, man.
I mean, when you think about it, how the white man was coming to observe the Native Americans, observing their slavery, it was like if you work at a job and they come check everything how you do it, right? They were analyzing if they were doing it right. And that's the same thing that was happening back then. It was a form of recolonization of slavery.
That's
You
right.
got to be like us. But we didn't go that way, as we read. But
right.
I just wanted to say that.
Okay, get Exodus 21, and then verse 20, and then we're going to read 26 and 27. But check this out. Even at this time, okay, even in this book, it says this: an interview conducted during the 1930s, former slaves evaluate their experience differently. This is Johnson Thompson, 80 years old, a former Cherokee slave, says this: the master never punished anybody. Okay? I never seen anybody whipped. And only one slave stowed. A lot of slave children didn't ever learn to read. Okay, so what you call that slavery? To never be whipped, to never be punished. And even in this slavery, you were adequately fed, you were cared for. So out of all 80 years of this man's life, he said he only seen one slave stowed. Now, how bad is that? Now, go ahead. I'll go ahead and read one more, man. Okay, it says, this is from a woman whose last name is Ward, 91 years old. She says this. She says she's remembered slaves working around and getting money and pay this money to their master for freedom. So even among the Native Americans, they allowed these black slaves to work, not just only for him, but for other people, so that they can earn enough money to buy their freedom. And just what we have read in Leviticus chapter 15, when you read from verse 35 on down, it talks about how a man can redeem himself or his property, or how we just how we read.
Let me read that real quick. It's 21 and 6.
21 and what's that?
And 6, right?
Yeah.
Then his master shall bring.
Oh, wait, no. Let's get read 21 and 20 first.
21 and 20?
Yeah.
Exodus 21 and 20?
Yes.
Okay. It's Exodus 21 and 20. It says, "And if a man smite his servant or his maid with a rod, and he die under his hand, he shall be surely punished."
That's right. So there you go. The reason why we're bringing that out is because of this slave's testimony saying that he never seen the master punish anybody, or he never seen anybody whipped. All right.
So following the law.
He was following the law. And it goes on to say even furthermore in verse 26 and 27, where it says that if a man smite the eye of a servant or the eye of his maiden, that it perish, he shall let him go free for his eye's sake. Okay, so this is just ways that the Native Americans were actually, keeping these laws, just in
themselves
in their own character, and the white man tried to make the Native American or the Indian man to be like themselves. Okay, now we're gonna go ahead and get that. Want to read that time?
Oh, Exodus 21:6.
Yes.
Read it.
I'll read verse 20, read verse 2,
Mm-hmm.
and
Okay.
then go down to 6.
All right, this is verse 2. Well, I'll read verse 1 and 2. It says, Exodus chapter 21, verse 1. Now these are the judgments which thou shalt set before them.
That's right.
Verse 2. If thou buy a Hebrew slave,
Bought a what?
Hebrew slave,
Okay.
6 years he shall serve, and in the 7th he shall go out free for nothing. All right. Now verse 6. We'll jump down to verse 6. Then his master shall bring him unto the judges. He shall also bring him to the door, or unto the doorpost, and his master shall bore his ear through with an aule. What is that?
With an aule.
With an aule, and he shall serve him forever.
So there you go. You got Hebrew Israelites, that didn't want to leave their masters because of why? Because when you read what's that, from verse 1 all the way down, it says that if a Hebrew brother has been sold unto thee, and he finds that his master's house is where he wants to be at because he loves his master. And check this out. I'm going to go ahead and go over here to verse. I'm going over here to Deuteronomy chapter 15 and verse 12. And this says the same thing that what we just now read, what my brothers just now read. It says, if thy brother, talking about another Israelite, if thy brother, a Hebrew man or a Hebrew woman, be sold unto thee, and serve thee 6 years, then in the 7th year thou shalt let him go free from thee. And when thou sendest him away, or sendest him out free from thee, thou shalt not let him go away empty. Thou shalt furnish him liberally out of thy flock, and out of thy floor, and out of thy wine press, and of that wherewith the Lord thy God has blessed thee, thou shalt give unto him. Thou shalt remember that thou wast a bondman in the land of Egypt, and the Lord thy God redeemed thee. Therefore I command thee this thing this day. In verse 17, it says the same thing. When thou, verse 16, and it shall be, if he says unto thee, I will not go away from thee, because he loveth thee and thy house, because he is well with thee, then thou shalt take an awl and thrust it through his ear unto the door, and he shall be thy servant forever. And also unto thy manservant thou shalt do likewise. So there you go. You got Israelites keeping other Israelites as slaves because, they say out of their own mouth that, I love my master, I love thee, I love the house that I'm at, and let me serve thee forever. So it wasn't against the law for an Israelite to keep another Israelite in what you could call, I'm not going to call it slavery, because you want to take that out of your mind, because the slavery that we think of is the white man's slavery.
It's kind of
right?
It's kind of like when people bring out this information, other Israelites, it's like confirming that we actually kept the law.
There you go.
It's confirming it. All we had to do was put out the correct information from people that wrote down facts about their lives.
There you go.
For 80 years and for 70 years. From your own people. And then we came out of the Bible and showed you that you were putting people in slavery and selling them to the other nations. Being Uncle Tom.
There you go.
Sellout. So we want to bring out this information.
Now, as we just read too about how, the way that the Native Americans were treating their slaves, that it upset the U.S., right? The U.S. slave owners, that they were upset because they say that these Native Americans didn't know how to keep slaves. They
didn't know how to follow.
They didn't know how to be, they didn't know
The
how
ways of
to
the
be
heathen.
evil,
The ways of the heathen.
And they were treating their slaves as brothers, all right? They even allowed them to go work and to buy their freedom, okay? Just like the law says, a man can redeem his land, can redeem his brother. All right, let me go ahead and, because let me get this right here. Okay. It says, if Native Americans did not know how to treat slave, then something would have to be done about Native Americans. Okay, and something did happen. I'm going to get into that information right now. Still coming out of this same book. This is page 137. Okay, I'm going to go right here. Where it says government, right? You see that? Government and Indian agents. Okay, government, Indian agents regulated their lives and paved the way for other intruders. Slavery became even more entrenched. Okay, so when the government sent these Indian agents to the reservation, it said slavery became more entrenched. Okay, the Indian agent sent by Washington, okay, sent by the United States, they were sent by Washington, openly encouraged slaveholding. Soon, two distinct classes based on slave ownership divided each Indian nation. Now you hear that? Because the Indian agents that were sent by Washington started to divide the nation into two different classes. Okay, now check this out. Soon, two distinct classes based on Indian ownership or slave ownership divided each Indian nation. Mixed blood owned slaves. Let me say it again. Mixed blood owned slaves and usually had some white ancestry. These are the classes, two distinct classes.
So
mixed blood, which owned slaves.
Are they bringing up that information?
They're bringing up their own information. Look at that. Mixed blood owned slaves and usually had some white ancestry. And why is it that these Israelites who talks about Indians only slaves never brought that information up? Okay, let me go ahead, man.
All they do is show you pictures. Pictures could explain. Could give you a lot of imaginations. Mm-hmm. Because if we just made a video with a bunch of pictures of us holding slaves, right? Then you're gonna have an imagination about all sorts of things.
And you're gonna think about the white man's slavery.
Yeah. So now we can bring out facts from actually a book that many of the Israelites have.
That's right.
Now, go ahead,
now what we just read, all right? Mixed blood owned slave and usually has some white ancestry. Okay, it says though a minority. Okay, mixed blood was a minority. There were only a few members that were mixed blood. They felt both of these facts make them superior, fit to rule. So that's that white man's blood inside Native Americans made them felt like they were superior, fit to rule. Okay? This also meant the amount of white blood was a positive. So having white blood in this incident, okay, said it was good to have because of these Indian agents sent by Washington. Okay? This meant that the amount of white blood was positive, much as the amount of black blood was a negative. Full bloods, okay? Talking about full-blooded Native American, full-blooded Cherokees, Choctaw, Chickasaw, Creek, okay? Full bloods formed a majority. So the majority of the reservation that were full bloods, okay, because they had no white blood, held no slaves. Let me say it again. Full blood held no slaves. And they had little power. Now check this out. Okay, this is between 1830 and the 60, the population of the four nations declined sharply. So the population of the four civilized nations declined sharply. Let's see what he's talking about. Chickasaw by 30%, or Cherokee by 30%. Chickasaw 27%. The Choctaw 27%. The Chickasaw 18%. The Creek 43%. At the same time, the numbers of members with white blood, okay, the number of members with white blood, the mixed blood, increased. So full blood was going down and the mixed blood was coming up. Okay? and so too did the numbers of slaves each nation held. So the more the mixed blood was coming up, the more slaves that these nations were owning, under the title of the five civilized tribes. When the full blood was going down, because what was happening? You think that Native Americans were just falling in love with the white people after all the atrocity, after the Trail of Tears? You think they were falling in love with them? So they were being raped, ravished, and destroyed, and being mixed. Okay, what you got, bro?
I was just gonna say that sounds like the Willie Lynch plan, right?
Hey, the Willie Lynch, man. There we go. I even own that book too. Check it out, the Willie Lynch letter, right?
Putting the white, the white,
the lighter skin.
the lighter skin against the darker skin.
That's right. Let me get that information out, man.
I mean, they had to do that to recolonize them, to have that mixed blood in them. That sound like the Willie Lynch plan to me.
Let me get that real quick, man. Now, so there you go. Right here. This is page 8. Right there, page 8. Check this out. Okay, this is the same thing. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and read it. It says, the black slaves, after receiving this indoctrination, shall carry on and will become self-refilling and self-generating for 100 of years, maybe thousands. So just the same as they received indoctrination, we also did the same thing. Because why? Because Washington sending Indian agents into the reservation and trying to promote this white man's slavery. Because what did we read before? That the Native Americans didn't know how to keep slaves, because the slaves that were held by Native Americans were what? Well fed, well treated,
nourished.
They were nourished. They never got whipped. They were never punished, and that was so bad. For the black slaves to be well treated. It was so bad to be well fed that out of 80 years or 90 years, that only one of those slaves had to steal. Okay? Well, let's go ahead. Let me give some more of this on Willie Lynch. Don't forget, you must pitch the old black male versus the young black male, and the young black male against the old black male. You must use the dark-skinned slave versus the light-skinned slaves. And who were the light-skinned slaves? They were the mixed blood. And the dark-skinned slaves were what? The full blood. And the same on the reservation, the ones with white ancestry, the mixed blood, held what? Slaves. And it said with these facts, they felt that it was superior and fit for them to rule. The same right here, with these same coons, right? These same coons that want to join hand in hand with the white men,
The Uncle Toms.
The Uncle Toms, yeah. And the ones that ran, the black slaves that ran after the escaped black slaves, who were they? They were the Uncle Toms too, right? So why do these Israelites want to hold that against us? But we were when the Native Americans, the four civilized nation, were capturing runaway slaves and bringing them back to the reservation, or these black coons were running after their own people and bringing them back to the white man's plantation.
Exactly.
All right. Okay, that's all. Okay, that's all I'm gonna get from here, man. But further on in this book, okay. Now right here, what we just said, the indoctrination of the black man, the dark black man against the lighter skinned dark people. Now listen to this. Slavery had become a major economic and political factor in these nations. This meant that their racial thinking was approaching that of the white South. So whose thinking was approaching that of the white South? It wasn't the full blood, because the full blood what? Didn't own slaves. So who were the ones that were approaching the white South? Which blood am I talking about? The mixed blood. And the reason why it was approaching the white South, because they themselves had what? White ancestry. So that just fits. the white Indians, the mixed blood, were approaching that of their own kind, the white South. All right. So let me go ahead and further read this, man. I'm going to go ahead and skip down to. Let me go ahead and read. It says, however, visitors to the Indian Territory reported a Indian type of bondage that hardly matched the harshness and cruelties of whites. Okay, I'm going to skip down to right here. It says, the mild bondage practiced by Indians soon came under sharp attack by neighboring white slave owners and U.S. Indian agents. So there you go. We were, you know, the way that the Native Americans were treating their slaves were under sharp attack by white slave owners and the United States government. Okay, now let's check it out. It says, the Choctaw agent Douglas Cooper thought that the Choctaw, Cherokees, and Creek should have white U.S. owners of slaves live in their villages and control manners. The Chickasaw, it was remembered, were considered almost as harsh as white members. But see, because of the leniency that the Native Americans had among towards the blacks and the black slaves, it said that that these Indian agents that were sent by Washington said that they should have white people live among the Native American to show them how to be harsh, because it wasn't in their DNA or in their mind to treat other human beings like the white men were treating the black slaves. And I'm going to get that information. Well, let me read this first. Indian fat. Well, it says this. There's the superintendent of the Southern Indian Affair in 1859 had another thought. He suggested that every Indian family should own slaves because it would tend to civilize them, and that was the main reason why they wanted these people to have slaves, because to be white, to assimilate to the white man's culture of having slaves and treating them harshly as the white men did. Now I'm going to go ahead and read in chapter 40. It says this: this simple decision stand as yet another example of the treasure independent spirit by Native Americans. Talking about the spirit of the Native Americans, the independent spirit of the Native Americans. Check this out. The beneficiary were the Afro-American whose slave years were spent with the people who found it difficult to treat other human beings as a piece of property. So there you go. That was the spirit of the Native Americans, because they couldn't treat other human beings as being a piece of property. So there you go, my brothers and my sisters. The information that we brought out, hopefully it helps you, encourages you. You know, me and my brother right here from One Nation, One Power. Our other brothers out there, Chaya and brother Ayil, you know, our leader, our elder, who's teaching us. You know, so we don't have this hate in our heart against black people, man. You know, we accept them like our brothers, just like the law says. You know, to treat them like your brothers, right? So, and that's what we have. We have a love for our brothers out there, man. But see, with this information that these other brothers are bringing out, what can we do? You know? Oh well, let it be what it is, man. But we're here to raise up a nation. You know, one nation, one power. So there you go, man. That's what we have in our heart. We reach out to everybody, the northern kingdom and southern kingdom. You know.
Yeah, we got love for everybody. You know, even though we get certain emails of certain people and people making videos about us, you know, we still love you guys. We know that we don't know it all yet, and we realize that, and we don't want to put ourselves in a hole that we can't get out, if you know what I mean, against our own brothers. But the Most High will hold us responsible for that. So, we got love for everybody out there. We had to come out with this information. And I know it's going to make certain people mad. But oh well, it's all facts. We didn't write this. We didn't write none of those books. We didn't write none of that book that we just read. We didn't write that. We just read it, and we just pulled out the information. And so, we just want to give all glory and honor to the Most High, Ahaya, Bahashem Yeshaya, and the Ruach Quadash. And we love you, brothers and sisters. Shalom.
That's right. And also in that, I know there's other information, that's there's other information out there, right? So even with that book, that when you go further onto that book, yeah, there's some information in there talking about how even when the Seminoles came and tried to live among the 4 civilized tribes, they weren't completely accepted because of that very fact that the Seminoles didn't have the idea or adopted the idea of having slaves. They were brothers and sisters, But check that out. Let me get something real quick, man. Oh, we want to say something real quick, bro?
Nah, let's keep pulling it out.
Now, see, that's the thing, man. You got these brothers out there that are trying to put all Native Americans into that same boat, But the thing is, you're only talking about four nations that the white people consider them to be the civilized tribe because they own slaves. All right, but see, the thing is, not all Native Americans had slaves, So let me pull this out real quick. Now I'm going to show you a small. Okay, there you go. That's a small head count. If you can see that right there, it goes up to like what? 42. Okay, that's only 42 tribes there. Now, that's 42 tribes, right? Now you're gonna paint us all with having slaves. There was only 4, and I only show you 42. My people in the Southwest, we didn't have slaves, man. His people, the Odom, the Papagos, they didn't have no slaves. The Hopis, they didn't have slaves. Tewas didn't have slaves. The Navajos didn't have slaves. Who else? The Morongos, they don't have slaves.
When you think about it, right? All that slavery was in the South.
It was all in the South. That's right.
And when that thought, that's where it was majority. It was mostly down there, even during the time of freedom. It was still going on.
That's right. And check it out. Even the Lakotas didn't have no slaves. So how are these brothers going to come on our website and say, oh, you're not Israelite, your people, held my people in bondage, held them as slaves. They captured runaway slaves and brought them back to the plantation. Well, so there you go. That information is distorted information. Only four tribes held slaves. That is recorded. Okay, and those 4 tribes, only one of those tribes, the Chickasaw, treat their slaves harshly as a white man, but the other 3, okay, guess what? They were well fed, treated well, they never got whipped. So if you want to call that slavery, you can call it slavery, man. But I pray that the Most High opens your eyes and see the truth for what it is. I can't even consider that slavery, man.
That's just a word that we use today, and the first thought that we think of is what the white man did.
This slavery, the Willie Lynch, how to make a slave.
We need to look at these words very carefully and not let our imagination take over our thought process.
That's right. So there you go. So from One Nation, One Power, from your Iquab and my brother Quadash, we're saying shalom out there to all my brothers, to all my sisters, from all the 12 tribes scattered abroad. May the Most High gather you. May the Most High comfort you, encourage you to stand on your own 2 feet, to bring out this truth, because we all one brothers. We all brothers and sisters, we all one family, the family of the children of Israel, and I know I get hate mail from the black Israelites, You know, and I also get hate mail from the people that look like me, calling me a sellout. You know, but guess what? If you look at these brothers that are so-called Native Americans, if you go to their website and see their website, guess what? They're watching naked girls. They're watching girls dance, you know, and you would expect me to respect a brother like that who has a mind of fornication, who has a mind that's separated from his tradition. You know, at least I'm bringing something, you know, that is positive to my people. Keep the laws, you know. Don't eat pork. What's wrong with not eating pork? You know, respect your brothers and sisters. What's wrong with that? You know, come out of drunkenness. Come out of fornication. Come out of idolatry, you know. So tell me what's wrong with that? Well, these other brothers out there are watching the white man, you know. They're
wanna be like
entertaining. They're entertained by the white man, and I'm pretty sure that these same so-called Native Americans that are traditional that calling me a sellout are celebrating Christmas. That's a sellout. You know, celebrating 4th of July. That's another sellout. And even within their powwows, guess what? They raising up the American flag. So who's the bigger sellout, huh? I don't even keep none of those days, man. I don't pledge allegiance to no flag. I don't cry at no national anthem. You know what I mean? So who's the sellout? Me or you? You know, consider that before you start calling me a sellout. Because I'm trying to raise up a people that are holy people, man.
That's right.
And our people always consider themselves to be holy, man.
That's right.
So with that, I'm going to say shalom. Like again, this is just love for my brothers and sisters out there, man. Yaikwa, saying shalom.
Shalom.